or two
Well,
terms. Sorry, two terms.
I
Two
think
terms.
I think feminism and I think the woman empowerment movements overcalculated that the nation has gotten so far into women empowerment and feminist movements that having a female run or a woman run for president was the right time. I think I think it was a slap in the face to remind them, like, nah, my yeah,
And she lost to the worst possible candidate you could lose to as well. Like
Let's
It
be
wasn't
Trump
because
honest.
she
was
She
was a
out.
didn't
female. It was
lose because
because
she
she
was a
was a poor
female. It's because
candidate. She was a poor
yeah, it
candidate.
wasn't because she was a
She didn't
female.
stand for anything. What policy
No, yeah,
made
it's
sense of her?
nah, it wasn't. It ain't that, but she did just so happen, like worldview wise. If you like coming out of Obama, and then first is Trump's first term, he was written as arguably the worst human being on planet Earth, and then for you to come out as the first black woman to run as president, and I'm putting black women in quotations, and then lose to him in arguably what we thought was the most progressive era in United States history, Bruiser right, man. That shit had to have been embarrassing.
it was a gut punch because you thought you got so far with equality and empowerment and liberation and all that stuff just to get
No, but she didn't really resonate with people like you might have thought she would. And it depends
Yeah.
on what media outlets you're paying attention to, because that's not what I saw. I told everybody that she was going to lose and bad for a long time, and everybody, no, Trump ain't going to win. They're not about to re-elect him. All right, watch, because she just didn't resonate with the folks, man. She wasn't really doing. She didn't stand for anything like that people cared about. She was more so annoying people.
But do y'all think that they was realistically going to let a woman run for president, though?
I think if it was a different
Well, she
woman,
did.
yes.
Yeah, I would have
I
voted for
think if it
Michelle
was a
Obama.
different woman, if it was a different
Hillary
woman,
Clinton.
yes.
Hillary Clinton came very close.
Nah.
Hillary Clinton came very close, but they would have definitely won if Bernie Sanders ran that year. And
Well, yeah, and you got to understand what happened. Remember that whole Benghazi and all that. They sabotaged her shit right before the election too. So she probably would have won if they didn't have that terrible taste in their mouth
bro,
from that
every woman
incident prior.
every woman that would have got up there would have been sabotaged. They did it to they would have done it to Michelle Obama. They would have dug up some shit. They
I think she would have won, dog.
first
I
time
think she
I ever
Michelle
heard
probably would
anybody.
have won.
This is the first time I listened to Kamala Harris on many interviews and stuff before she even tried to run. And this is the first time I ever heard anything about questioning her race.
No, she was questioned the first time. The
first time when
I just think
when
I
she
think
ran
it
for
was
president.
a PR too. It was
no,
the
I'm
PR.
saying like I'm saying before she started running, before she inserted herself to run, I've never heard about anybody caring about what her race was.
Yeah, they've been caring about their race for the last, what is it? I guess 8 years now.
Well, here's the
When
thing.
she
She was
ran-
never mentioning that she was black. Remember, she was American Indian before.
That's what I'm saying. It was
She
never
started
a
mentioning
thing
that
until
she was
That
black
was Asian
at the
Pacific.
time she
started
was
going-
running.
When you start to come onto this level to try to be the POTUS, that's where everybody start digging to try to
The
disqualify you, bro.
scrutiny.
That's all I'm
There's
saying.
the scrutiny. But that happens
but she
to
also-
every
but yeah.
candidate. There's going to be scrutiny.
But yeah, she also. So you got to remember, she ran.
What I'm saying though is a double standard for a woman. It's literally got to be. You got to leave. A woman gonna have to be perfect, bro. She cannot have nothing on her.
I don't
A
believe
man,
that.
yeah, that's different. We live in a patriarchal
I don't
society.
believe
A woman
don't
coming
believe
into
that.
an office to run the country, bro. She got to
For her, like even
immaculate.
it was a landslide. However, if you look at each one of the swing states, it was marginal defeats, right? So if she were actually a decent candidate and actually had some type of energy and something for people to believe in, she could have won. We're
Yeah,
not
but she
that
would
far
have had.
gone.
She would have had to have.
I think
nothing
it was
on her
more
record.
her genuinity being tested, because a lot of what was happening in the media and what people were saying, it wasn't based off of anything but how genuine she really is. People kept calling out certain things that she was saying, certain things that she was doing, and it contradicted
She was
what she
taking in
stood
the
for
$3
or
bill.
anything.
Yeah.
So
She
that's
was-
why a lot of people didn't vote, because they couldn't trust her. And I think that if we can go off of anything, the reason why they chose Trump is because yes, he does things, but at least he's gonna tell you he does them, and then that's what
the devil
people were
that you
like.
know.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. And I think that's what they were choosing. I'm not saying either or, but I think that is why they chose him versus her. And that's why it's like, if you're going to run for what people are looking for now, they're looking for someone that's going to be honest and upfront. They want to know what it is, because nobody has time to sit here and read every little thing, even though we should understand these things and know. People themselves would rather just prefer a leader that's going to be honest, even though it's the politicians, you guys.
Well, what was
Yeah.
what was going to
We
change?
don't know what's honest or not, but I think that's what it was.
What was
Well,
Kamala going to do any different?
she
What,
That's
couldn't
what I'm
do
saying.
anything.
Trump?
She didn't have anything
Shit, you
on her
wanna know?
resume.
Well,
She didn't
for
have
one,
anything on
the
her resume. That's
so
what
she
I'm
didn't
saying.
have
Like,
people
nothing
were
that she was going to do different. She didn't
yes,
have
she
no
was.
sales
The
pitch.
border. She did terrible as a border czar, right? That was one thing that people really cared about. People really saw their cities' resources going away, going to people who never paid into the tax system, and something people care about. 2A is a big deal. The mother love has been attacking the 2A forever. California, people feel like they're in communist China, right? They can't do anything. That emissions nonsense, people like them not trying to go for nuclear energy, them not trying to go for fossil fuel energy that could actually create a lot of revenue. People care about that stuff. These are things that
Also,
maybe a lot of people don't mention.
also,
And then people were pretty angry about the whole, they really tapped into this trans thing crazy, which is what, roughly around a couple percents of people, and they really honing in on that. People really don't want to send their daughters to organized sports to battle dudes,
Men,
and for
yeah.
them to stand behind that is weird.
also
So
And then
another thing. Also,
I
another
could keep
thing
going
that
too, but go ahead,
also another
Sweeney.
thing
you
was
gotta
that
let Callie get in that too, yeah.
also, yeah, Kelly, you can go right after me. But after, also another thing that hurt her was the fact that she started off half her campaign running on things that she agreed with Biden on, and then reneged towards the end of the campaign and wound up going against the shit that she was actually in agreement with Biden on. Like her, I think her tax plan, she was in agreement with him at first, and then she flipped on that. I think also the healthcare plan that she had, she was in agreement with them on, and then flipped on that. So she didn't stand for anything.
Well,
That was
why
a
did the
lot she
white
didn't
women
stand
not?
for.
Why the white women ain't vote for her?
Well, white women typically vote pretty much in the interest of their men most of the time anyway. They
Yeah,
don't.
they talk all that. They talk all that shit, and then as soon as it get down, they get behind their men and support.
Remember, there's
Then
a
you
curtain.
had the white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. They was not about to support Kamala's husband. He was a small like it was. He got a huge issue with, you know what I'm saying, APAC and what's going on with that.
Then
Black
Well,
people
it's
wasn't a likable
politics.
person.
Like, the thing is, it's
Remember-
hard to believe anyone in politics. Like, everything, I guess it's just people just chose Trump because they just knew who he was, and they didn't want to test the waters with Kamala or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I'm just going off of what I perceive, what I'm seeing in the media, not what people. I don't actually interview these people,
They
but
pretty much know what's going to go on whenever people get in the office.
yeah.
And also, she was like a failed version of Obama 2.0. Like, so I think somebody said it in the chat. She straddled the fence way too much, but it was in the worst way possible. Like, the worst way to straddle the fence. She didn't stand for anything that mattered to anybody or her constituents, but also she didn't go against anything outside of I'm better than Trump. And I'm
they strategy of having gay men and angry women talk at us to demand that we do things. That was embarrassing. There's no man in the world that respond to gay men and dominant women talking crazy to them to tell them what to do. Like, we'll spite ourselves to go against that type of shit. Like, that shit was the most turn off to masculine man shit you could have possibly done.
Sadly, they said a lot of black men voted for her though.
Yeah, but you got to
The
think
ones that
They
voted,
did.
a lot
There's about
didn't vote.
78%.
But those black men always vote Democrat. The problem that she couldn't do was she couldn't generate Obama's numbers. If we would have came out the same way that we came out for Obama, she would have won. But because she
There's nothing to be enthusiastic about.
she could not generate what Obama generated. That's what she was trying to do. She was trying to get that giant swell that Obama got. Not only that, but she had to be able to grab the moderate white person too. and she couldn't
Yeah, but
galvanize any of that.
That's just because he was the
You can't-
first black president, though. Like, but they wasn't
yeah.
going to bank on her being, you know,
A first black
the first
female
black
president.
female president. I feel like they wasn't going to bank on that. Just, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
Yeah, that
nobody
shit
really
killed
liked her.
Obama. And nobody
You gotta
liked
understand. Remember when she ran, she got trashed. She didn't do well. She had to drop out early. She was basically defaulted into the front runner. She didn't win that. They didn't even give the Democrats a chance to select their actual front runner. That's problematic. I don't care if it was a week. Do that shit online because it didn't really count for nothing. Anything would have been better. Some type of opportunity would have been better to default a woman who we said no to.
who we said
And,
no
and
to.
the only reason why Joe Biden picked her was because she represented a black woman. He literally said that he was going to appoint a bunch of black women, not based on their qualifications, but based on they were black women. He literally said he was going to do that. That right there sounded crazy to most people. People didn't like that shit. If she was the best candidate, then I would have got it. But he literally selected her because of that.
Yeah, then when it came out that she wrote a autobiography and tried to lie about having black relatives by calling people her uncles, like that shit was crazy. Then the slave owner shit came out. Like that was probably the worst vetting or background check they ever did on a politician, and all that shit came to light. Like every last.
She's literally married to a white man too. So what we doing?
Somebody say DEI candidate. That's straight up. She is the epitome of a DEI candidate. Like
if she was in office today, what's the worst that could be taking place right now?
I would say that she probably wouldn't have flipped. She would have definitely not flipped anything on his head. She would have sat in office for
all these people that immigrated through here across the border would have been cool.
They would have got naturalized citizenship, and they would have continued to, like in Chicago, they've been pushing people out. Like, because at one point in time, the rental assistance programs was geared towards freshly or newly immigrated people, and they was raising the rental amounts and taking properties that was vacant or abandoned and getting them put back online specifically to do a forced gentrification. And I watched different neighborhoods. Like I pride myself on living in an all black community, and my community took a huge hit during COVID. People couldn't afford it no more. A lot of the people that like had generational houses in my specific area got moved out, and it was a demographic change. So much so I damn near want to move, but that shit was rough, bro. I
gotta ask you, bro. Where would you have moved to if your community got gentrified?
Probably maybe Hyde Park, or I don't know. I wouldn't have moved to the far south suburbs. I don't know, bro. That shit would have been. It's heartbreaking watching this shit happen. It really is. It's heartbreaking watching that shit happen.